Hi guys, welcome back to the course. Our topic this week, actually a really important one, academic writing in English. I want to think about this topic together with you guys. This presentation is going to have three main parts. We're going to kick off in a minute with some tips, good tips for good academic writing. Then I'm going to draw your attention to some resources that are out there for you to use. Finally, I'm going to give examples of references and citations so you can follow my models to get it right. Before I continue though, I'd like to say hello to my niece, Tony. Tony, you're watching this video. Tony's a student herself. She's been watching my videos. She's been liking my videos. Tony, thanks for watching. Thanks for the likes. And it's kind of good fun because this is a chance for me to speak to my Vechta students, dear Vechta students. I don't know if you know it, guys, but you can also like my videos. YouTube actually has a little like function. You can click on it and I get a like. I get the little gift, the small present of a like to improve my Monday morning or whatever day it is. Should you do this, you might say to me, Magnus, come on, I'm a Northern German. In Northern Germany, we don't like anything because we're not Americans, okay? If you go to America and you say to an American, how are you? They say, great, fine, very well, thanks, okay? Americans like things. In Northern Germany, we don't. But hey, I could say, look, hang on, I know you're not an American, but we can pretend to be Americans. This is an English course after all. Couldn't that be part of our language learning game to pretend to be Americans? I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hey, Magnus, stop complaining. You get paid extra to do these videos. Just take the money and shut up. Guys, I don't get paid extra. I do these videos for the love of teaching and the love of learning, okay? I do not get paid extra. That's a misunderstanding, okay? I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, why is he complaining? His first video has 3 likes already. But yes, okay, one of them is probably Tony. The second one's probably my son taking a short break from playing Fortnite to give his dad a like. And the third one's probably my wife if I took the rubbish out the night before. Okay, so yes, I can get 3 likes, but all of those people are genetically related to my family's DNA, okay? It'd be nice to get some likes from people who don't share my family's DNA. Think about it, guys. Shall I shut up? Yeah, you're all saying shut up. Okay, I'll shut up and I'll continue teaching you instead. Oh, no, I won't shut up. Actually, one extra thing, guys. At the end of this course, there's going to be an evaluation. You can fill that in as well. You really are shouting shut up loudly now. Okay, I'll shut up. I promise. Sorry. Relax, calm down. Let's move on. Seriously, academic writing was our topic. We want to do it better. Tips. Let's start off with some tips and recommendations. Discuss with your partner what tips and recommendations can you give for improving your academic writing in English. Okay, how can we make it better? So think about it, make a little list. What tips can you give? Easy ways to quickly improve my academic writing. Pause here. What did you come up with? I would give the following suggestions. This is my collection of tips. Firstly, sorry guys, this is a tricky one, but you have to do some reading. You have to do some reading. I want you to read a bit more. Read academic literature. You don't have to read it like a Stephen King book, okay? These academic texts, you don't have to start at page 1 and read until page 232. You don't have to, but just skim through them. When you're writing a German essay, it's nice to actually cite an English language book as well, isn't it? Certainly in your bachelor arbeit or bachelor thesis, that's a good thing to do. So get into the habit, when you go to the library, grab a couple of German books, but grab an English book as well to go with it. It's a nice thing to get into the habit of doing. Cite English texts, even if you're writing in German. My next point is about academic writing in English. We have a lovely expression, KISS. Maybe before I explain this expression, I should explain how academic German is. So I came to your literature, your German language literature, as a non-native speaker. And I picked books off the library shelves and I really had a shock. It was like, whoa, I'm supposed to read this? You know, your language is incredibly complex. It's incredibly unreadable. It's not designed for non-native speakers. Academic English is the exact opposite. If I'm writing a book, I want people to read it all over the world. I don't want my book to be read in this small pond of, German social work. It's for the whole world. So we have a particular writing style. We like to make our writing readable. You are allowed to have short, clear sentences, coming to the point. So this is what KISS stands for. Keep it short and simple. Keep it short and simple. You've got a long, complex sentence, break it down into 2 simpler ones. This doesn't make you a worse writer, it makes you a better, clearer writer. So acknowledge that famous, muscular, concise Anglo-Saxon writing style. What else can I say? Learn to proofread your writing. My wife helps me correcting my German sometimes, and there is a pattern. I make the same mistakes. So I'm trying to learn to not make the same mistakes anymore. So train yourself to recognize your own mistakes. Let technology help you. If you're writing in a Word document or a PowerPoint presentation, you've got an inbuilt spell check. You'll have to activate it. You'll have to actually turn the language into English. It will automatically think it's writing in German. Once you've set it to English, if you mistype a word, if there's a word written wrong, it will be underlined in red. Hey, what a gift. Isn't that wonderful? Because, you know, everybody's bad at spotting these things. Your computer will spot it for you. So learn how to activate your spell check. Practice your academic vocabulary. There's certain expressions, phrases we use in an essay or giving a presentation. These expressions can be learned. You can target these expressions and learn them systematically. Please know Denglish, okay? Your subject has its own words. You know, it has a corpus of language, its own terminology, and these words have quite precise meanings, okay? When native speakers use them, they use them with those precise meanings. Learn these words in English. Don't give us Denglish. You know, my famous example, a Jugendamt is not a youth office. Don't try and tell us it is. Okay. Use a dictionary. There is a good book. I think I've recommended it earlier in the course. For some reason, I can't think of the author's name. It slipped my mind. I remember noting the author is a bit of an idiot, but his book is good. Well worth getting out from your university's library. I'm sure it's in there as an ebook. Good. Speaking of literature, more interesting books to use. There's a whole bunch of resources that you have at your disposal. I can really recommend these 3 books here. In fact, I have 2 of them next to me in earlier editions. So books on what we call academic English, you call it wissenschaftliches English in German, but we call it academic English. They tend to have 2 particular themes. What they do is they train you quite specifically in academic vocabulary. And actually both of those books that I was waving in front of you really are themed largely around vocabulary exercises. So they'll train you in using particular words in particular situations. But as well as this, they act as style guides, helping you write in a way which is authentic and natural sounding and easy to read. So that's what those books tend to do. Hey, I think I've talked enough about general tips and recommendations. Let's get stuck into this. Let's actually do this. Citations references, how do we do it? Let's just jump in with a real example. Now, I have great news for you guys. Citations are straightforward in English, as straightforward in English as they are in German. They really are quite easy to master. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Let's start from the beginning. Often when we cite a book, the bit we're talking about is a detail on 1 or 2 pages. Now I'm going to give you some real life citations, a lovely book actually. One reason why we read English literature is because the books have wonderful titles that we couldn't quite have in our own language. And this book's great. It's by a lady called Lena Dominelli, and it's called Feminist Social Work, Theory and Practice. What a great title. And if you're a German student, that should be quite inspiring, because there's a whole line of thinking in here, which if you're not an English reader, you won't have access to. So look at this. This is a gift for you, and I'm going to be citing from it. How do I cite? We make it clear by noting the author's surname, the year of publication, the page number in our text, and then we rephrase the point in question. So if you look at page 19 of this book, you're going to find the point that I mention here. Dominelli, in brackets 2002, page 19, notes how feminist social work is a relatively new phenomenon, entering social work discourses in the course of the 1970s and the 1980s. Now, obviously, at the end of our essay, we're going to have our full bibliography, you can call it literature if you like, and there you'll find a corresponding entry, and it's going to look like this. Here we say Dominelli, we give the surname again, but we also give an L for the forename. In American literature, you tend to have two forenames, or one middle name and one forename. In Britain, just one letter for the forename. Then you've got a comma, then you've got the year 2002. The title, Feminist Social Work Theory and Practice, is in italics. The letters are leaning slightly cursive, we say italics. And then we say the town where the book was published. Basingstoke is a little suburb of London, so to say. And then we say the name of the publishing house, in this case, Palgrave. So it's a standardized system, and all your books should look exactly the same in that formatting. Good. So that was a citation. Sometimes we refer to a book with a direct quote, and then it comes in quote marks. The procedure, though, is just like before. It really is more or less the same thing as I've just explained. Difference is, when we put it of a quote in quote marks, we normally indent it, meaning we push the beginning in a little bit from the left-hand side of the page. Let me give an example. Dominelli identifies feminist social work as a relatively recent phenomenon. And then I give a quote, which is exactly what Dominelli wrote in her book. Feminist social work theory and practice is a relatively new theoretical construct, appearing formally on the academic social work scene in a significant way during the 1970s and the early 1980s. And then I repeat her name, Dominelli, add the year, and again, comma, page 19. I've also got a line as a kind of space line before and after the quote. That's also more or less the norm in the Anglo-Saxon world. If it's a very, very short quote, relax, you don't have to have a separate block like that. If you're only quoting 2 or 3 words, you can just have it in your text itself. But this is what we would have for a longer quote. Quoting or citing is similar if we do it from a book chapter, an academic paper, a website. I've given you examples from a book, but it's not so different if I do it from some other source as well. So please note, relax, it's always the same procedure. Often we simply want to say we've looked at a particular book or paper and that we're drawing our ideas from it, but we're not drawing ideas from a particular page. In this more general case, we can leave off the page number because we're referring to ideas scattered throughout the whole text. And let me give you another example here from Dominelli. In her seminal text, Dominelli, 2002, argues for a social work powerfully shaped by feminist and gender ideas in both theory and practice. Okay, so I'm not referring to a particular page, but rather I'm talking about the whole book, the whole academic paper, the whole book chapter. You get the idea. An alternative to that formulation might be the following. I could have written, it can be argued that feminist ideas can be a powerful orientation point in social work, theory and practice. And then I write Dominelli, 2002. If you're reading that sentence, something strange happens. You start reading the sentence thinking it's my idea, and at the end I say Dominelli 2002, then you think, oh right, it's not his idea after all, it's Dominelli's idea. So there's a weird process when you read that. You notice at the end of the sentence that I'm actually referring to somebody else's idea. So that bit of information comes a bit late, so to say, but it's still equally valid, and it's a nice way of phrasing it. Hey, guys, pay attention, look at this. We have a nice alternative. We can use see here. Exactly the same sentence. It can be argued that feminist ideas can be a powerful orientation point in social work theory and practice. See Dominelli, 2002. Isn't that nice? So see Dominelli. And again, that's a very natural sounding expression to use. And I'm maybe with that, but there's this feeling, hey, this is a book that we can consult here. What would you write in German here? What would you write in German? When I say see Dominelli 2002, what I'm saying is, this idea is taken from Dominelli. I've looked at her book. You might even want to as well. Is there a German equivalent? I want you to pause here and discuss with your partner. What's the German translation of this English see? If you think about this, you might have stumbled across 3 little German letters. We've got this VGL Punkt, and I think that's what we would often use in German. VGL is short for vergleiche. Isn't that interesting? Vergleichen. That verb means something like compare, doesn't it? When you look at 2 things together. This is a bit confusing because here it does not mean compare, does it? If you think about it, it means I've read and I'm referring to author X's ideas here. Suggests that the reader may wish to consult author X as well. But if I cite Dominelli, you're not supposed to compare my phrase to her phrase, because you have to trust me as an author, don't you? You know, sometimes in science, it's fascinating to compare two separate ideas. You know, what does Foucault say about that? What does Habermas say about that? That's comparing. Here, we're not actually comparing, we're simply referring to another book. So it's kind of odd that we choose for German letters VGL, but we do. That is quite correct German as far as I know. Please note, English native speakers do not have an equivalent for the German VGL Punkt. There's nothing that I've come across that really fits it well. Some Germans would argue the opposite. Many Germans say, hey, English native speakers have an equivalent. That equivalent is 2 letters, CF. And some German authors say this is a good translation for VGL. CF comes from the Latin confer, apparently. I mean, what do I know? I don't speak Latin. Why not? Because it's a dead language. You don't learn dead languages, do you? Do you? I'm hoping you don't. Maybe you do. That's not the point. The point here is, some people say, no, this Latin is equivalent to the German VGL, maybe in some scientific contexts, not in academic writing. Please note, English authors do not use CF in this way at all. This is not English, this is Denglish, okay? See those books there, are something like 100 books on my bookshelf. Not one of them has CF in that Denglishy way. Why should they? Okay, so the closest we've got is actually this word C, but please note you don't have to even write C, you can just go straight to the author's name. So that's a point really worth noting. CF, as far as I'm concerned, is Denglish. And when I'm reading an essay, I never want to see it like in this sentence here, which I've crossed out. So there you are, that's a final point to note. And actually that's the only real big difference in citations in English and German. We don't have that VGL expression that you do. Otherwise, as far as I can tell, everything seems to be much the same. I'm going to come to a close in a minute. One final point. I love seeing a tidy bibliography. Okay, I sometimes have to mark bachelor theses that my students write. And if it's a bit messy in the bibliography at the end, if I'm seeing typos, that really annoys me. So my tip is be careful. The literature list at the end of your essay, it should be tidy. Take care to get everything consistent in your list. As well as printed literature, you'll be listing online sources. No problem. Even if these sources are online, not printed, they should be listed systematically. And it's the same procedure: author, year, place of publication, publisher. You know, it's all the same stuff. You can always, after the publisher, write online, colon, then you can copy the web address, and then you can say accessed and give the date when you last accessed it. You know, but it's still completely systematic, completely consistent with all the rest of the literature. Now, if you want to have help, sometimes it is helpful to get ideas. You know, you're citing a newspaper article. How does that work? University citations guides can be really helpful here. Pretty much every English-speaking university somewhere on its website has a guide for references and citations. I could recommend, for example, the Bournemouth University one, which you're going to find on the next slide. My tip, learn how to be careful with your bibliography right now. Okay, when you're writing your bachelor thesis, that's going to be a stressful phase. You're not going to have enough time. We often run out of time when we're doing that. Then is not the time to spend half a day trying to get your bibliography looking tidy. Learn how to do it correctly now, then it'll be easy to do when you get to the end of your studies. Hey guys, hope you found this informative and interesting. Let me slowly come to a close. Thank you.